Oh, yeah, podcast land. As you all will know, I am known as the Super Soul Warrior, Warrior D1. And I am coming at you late on this Sunday night to go ahead and give you my very first podcast. This podcast will go ahead and, well, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, man. Y'all are too kind with this applause. Anyway, this first podcast is basically going to head and roll with Christianity. My whole thing is I'm going to have many different topics, but I wanted to go ahead and start out with this one. Shout out to my boy, Mr. McGrew. I don't know if he wants me to go ahead and say his name like that, but I'll go ahead and figure that out later. Because of him, I am starting this whole game of doing podcasts in order to use my talents, as he said. But I'm going in with Christianity at this point in time, and the main reason why is because in this day and age, it is a very controversial topic. And I just feel like it needs to be talked about at this point in time. As a lot of people will know, the information that I am going to go ahead and display to you tonight can be found on the internet anywhere, or basic study of religion or whatever else. And if you feel like fact checking me, I'm pretty sure somebody will. And feel free to go ahead and do this. Christianity, as it is known, was established in the year 50. Okay, a lot of people will go ahead and say that that Christianity was started during the ministry of Jesus Christ, when his ministry first started. But the thing is, when he died, I won't even go ahead into that. I'm going too far ahead of me right now. He had followers. He had followers called disciples, and then others who followed him and knew of his works and all the different gifts that he was able to go ahead and use for toward people in order to go ahead and fulfill the work that the Father, known as God, gave to him. Because Jesus was known as God in the flesh. But he also referred to God as the Father in order for us to go ahead and follow his lead in how we should live our life. So the main thing is this: the Christianity, as it's called, is started with the ministry of Jesus Christ. The Roman Catholic Church claimed that the first pope was St. Peter, which really trips me out about that, because St. Peter was a very rogue and different type of person. He cursed. He was a fisherman. He was uneducated, but he was known as one of pretty much a scholar of Christianity. But at the same time, the word Christianity is pretty much a title. It is a title that was first used as a way of downgrading people who follow Christ. But then those who follow Christ took it as a badge of honor later on and used it in a way of making it into a religion, which is how Catholicism began. And I will go ahead and say it in this fashion, and this is me, what I believe and how it all connects and everything. Catholicism was kind of built from Judaism, okay? And the reason why I say that, because Judaism is a thing of, it's a lot of rules, a lot of laws and different things that Jewish people will go ahead and roll with. I mean, you're like born into that religion. You don't even you don't join it. And if you join it, you forsake every other thing that you're dealing with when it comes to religion. That's neither here nor there. But my whole point is St. Peter is known as being the first pope. And the thing is, it really trips me out because Catholicism is really big on Jesus plus. You know, they have a lot of different rituals. And how do I know this? Because I was in Catholicism for a couple of years before I went to non-denominational churches. Catholicism will have you doing all kinds of different things. I mean, you have to kneel during prayers or kneel before you even take a seat. You stand up, you kneel behind a chair. I mean, behind a banister. And then when you take the covenant, or not the covenant, I'm messing that up. But it's basically you're recreating what Christ did during the Last Supper. And basically it's like you're eating bread and drinking wine, and you're taking in the blessings of doing that and remembering what the sacrifices that Christ did on the cross for you and I, in order to become, in order for us to become free as people living on this earth. But further on, you have Catholicism, that was the main denomination. But just like any religion, people get mad at each other and figure that Jesus should be thrown a whole different way. So this is basically how you get all of these different slices. But before I even go into that, the Roman Empire was inspired by Christianity through a Roman emperor called Emperor Constantine, who saw the teachings of Jesus Christ and implemented that into what was known as winter solstice. This is how we get Christmas, because he took a pagan holiday, put Jesus right in the middle of it, and that's how we're able to go ahead and celebrate Christmas the way we do. Beyond all of that, I'm still on this thing about St. Peter, but because in a Catholic religion, they're very strict. They have all of these rituals. They're very strict. They're really big on behavior modification. And I think that is what really messes people up a whole lot, which is so funny because Peter was not one of those guys. I don't even think he would be accepted in the Catholic religion at this point, even though he was the first pope. I mean, he was a very flawed person, but Jesus saw the very beautiful things in this man and brought it out of him. But I don't think he would be accepted in the Catholic religion. But like anything, people get mad at each other when you're in a religion like that, and they will go ahead and split up the church in many different ways, which is how I believe that you have all these different denominations, such as Baptist, Calvinism, Lutheran, Methodism, and all the other isms that are there. But it goes on and makes me click back mentally to this saying that Ozzy Osbourne said in one of his tracks, talking about there's too many religions, but only one God. There is one Jesus Christ. And all of a sudden, you have all of these many different ways that you celebrate him or you worship him or whatever else. But yet and still, a lot of these people, and I can't go ahead and judge or whatever else, but a lot of these people do not follow what Christ did. Like for an example, you have Jesus in his time when he walked, man, he hung with a lot of people that, the Pharisees, who were the judge and juror of all religion when it came to Jewish people, they turned their nose up at him. Because first of all, Jesus was messing up their money anyway, because, when you tell the truth and then you have an entity that benefits off of people being asleep, then therefore they're going to get upset. So with that, you have Jesus. He hung around with a lot of people that a lot of the townsmen turned their nose up at. I mean, like, for an example, you had Mary Magdalene, who was a prostitute, and she was about to be stoned because she was having sex with a married man. They did nothing to the man, but they wanted to go ahead and stone her. But because of the things that Jesus had, when they brought this lady to Jesus, and because of the things he said, she was released, and she was not stoned to death because of how Jesus protected her. And when he looked up, I'm not going into the whole story, but when he looked up, he told her, "Who are the men that accuse you?" You know what I mean? And she was like, "They're all gone." And he was like, "I don't either. Sin no more." So the thing is, it's like this. Even in that, when he was hanging with tax collectors and all these bad people, scripted bad people in the land, they didn't know what to do. My point is, in this day and age, we do not have good examples of Christ or followers of Christ, because, and that's what I'm saying. Christianity is a title. If you believe in the words that in the actions that Jesus did in his time, then you are a follower of Christ. And if you go ahead and do things according to how he did them, it would be simple. We would be way better off. Jesus gave 2 commandments. And you can look them up in the Bible. He gave 2 commandments. One was believe in the one he sent. He's talking about God. God sent him to go ahead and save us. But then after he was crucified and rose again, the one big commandment that a lot of us do not go ahead and roll with is saying, love one another as I have loved you. And that's the last thing he said to his followers before he ascended to heaven. And I think that's what's missing in this world right now today, ladies and gentlemen. We have no love for each other. We have only love for ourselves. We only want the glory of being on top at any cost, no matter if it's someone else suffering at the same time. I think we have this thing of using Christianity as a badge or as a weapon to hurt people, to say, I am better than you, and you should be living like I live. Because I've gone to churches with preachers who was kind of like that. If you're not living the way I'm living, no matter how much you are struggling, then you're possibly going to go to hell. I've heard plenty of fire and brimstone preachers over and over again that will confuse a congregation more than any jigsaw puzzle that you can go ahead and create in your mind. It is so scary in this day and age how in certain ways the church, or just how followers of Christ or supposedly followers of Christ will take the word and distort it and just mess it up and leave people in a really disdain mode. I'm about to run out of time for this one, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do a part 2 to this, because this is very important. And especially in this day and age, we need to learn how to love each other, because I think that's what this pandemic threw us through a loop. We began to realize that we need each other more than we even realize. This is the Super Soul Warrior, War D1. Until next time, I'm out.